All right, everybody, we're back on Skywatchers Radio. Once again, the call-in number is 786-245-8127. Open lines for the next hour and a half with our guest, Dan Martin, who's joining us, the author of An Apocalypse, How to Survive a Global Disaster. Dan, how the heck are you, my friend? It's been a while since I spoke to you. I interviewed you back when we were all terrified that 2012 was going to kill us all.
Angel, it's been almost 2 years. Can you believe
that? And we're still here. We're alive. We made it.
No, I don't think so. I think it's just begun. Actually, we can go over that in a minute. But I think that 2012 was the start. Maybe even a little bit before. I mean, even towards mid to late 2011, things kind of started heating up, and we're definitely seeing some crazy stuff going on around the world. But I'm so excited to be on the show tonight, so I really appreciate you having me on again.
It's such a pleasure to have you back on here, my friend. It's been just way too long since we spoke. And again, the book came out a couple of years ago. It's actually called Apocalypse: How to Survive a Global Crisis. I had to add a disaster in there. It just sounds disaster. It sounds like really evil.
I'll make sure to change the title next time we get
change it to disaster. I love that word. But Global Crisis, it was a really cool book, man. You sent it to me a while back, and I went through it like 2 or 3 times, and I still have it. It's in my book collection, which is expanding and growing like crazy. And it really is a cool book. Before we get to anything randomly, let's just talk about the book for a second. And yes, 2012 came and went. Nothing happened. We're all still alive. But like you said, something could still be happening. We never really know. So, tell us a little bit about the book. What got you into writing this book? Why were you interested in writing about an apocalypse and how to survive it? Tell the audience. Remember, this is a different crowd from Inside the Jackal's Head. This is the Dark Matter Radio Network crowd. So some of these folks have not heard you and heard about the book.
Awesome. Yeah, well, some of these folks don't want to hear me either.
Nobody wants to know that the world could be coming to an end, Dan. That's just not news people
want around the world. Ignorance is bliss. We like to have our hands over our eyes and over our ears. And the book is basically an accumulation of my life's work, personal experiences, relief efforts, education, training. I have 62,000 hours of topic-related on-site experience in this type of field. Not to mention, living 8 years off the grid, 6 of which, we had zero contact with, not even one other human being did we see or communicate with the entire time. No phone lines, no water lines, no septic lines, no TV service, no cell service, no emergency services. There wasn't even a road going to the property. So you combine that with now we're doing relief work. We've been doing stuff in Haiti and Colombia, Peru, South America, Mexico, of course, and for all of their respective catastrophes. And all this experience and training comes in and is conveyed in the book, which is basically my eyewitness account of all these nightmarishly chaotic instances before, during, and weeks, months, years after the aftermath. And I basically describe it step by step of what I've observed and people I've worked with, their testimony, and how we were self-sufficient, how we provided for ourselves 100%. And if anything were to happen, or I should say, when something happens to the listeners and everybody else, because catastrophes happen around us all the time. It doesn't have to be some global crisis, and that's not what the book is about. It's about surviving any kind of natural or man-made catastrophe, like you said.
It does say how to survive a global crisis, though, Dan. That's the title.
Yeah, but hold on. Here's the question. Hold on. I got to ask. Here's the question. Are we talking surviving a financial, a natural disaster, an EMP? Which disaster are you talking about, or do you cover all the bases with it?
That's exactly it. We cover all the base, everything you can think of. Let me just read straight from the table of contents.
By the way, since this is Skywatchers, do you cover the alien invasion?
Yes.
Ooh, okay. Now you got my head.
Yes, we cover aggressive alien, we cover non-combatant alien invasion, we cover it all. Gamma ray bursts, scientific disasters, starvation, super robot, computers taking over the world.
Terminator
super
stuff.
earthquakes.
Now, are these all individual chapters, or they're all actual individual chapters in the book?
Yes.
Yep.
Very cool. Very cool.
And
you got to get a copy of this book like ASAP, man. You really do.
Dude, you got to get it to me so I can read through it.
Collapse, economical collapse, solar flares, invasions, terrorist attacks, superstorms, asteroid impacts, everything you could possibly, peak oil, starvation, everything's in there. And if you look around the planet right now, almost every single country, even down to individual cities, people are experiencing in one way or another, tornadoes, fires, these wildfires out in California right now. The threat of martial law going on. We had a tornado just hit in North Dakota or something. This EF2 come down. Tsunamis in every couple months. One's out in the Pacific right now, about to hit Mexico. And then we're talking about, look at this this new virus that's hitting the Caribbean. Have you heard about that?
I have. Yep.
And then we have a polio outbreak in the Middle East, measles and cholera in Europe, and then we still have the cholera outbreak in Haiti that I've been dealing with that for the last 2 years. So I think
virus upgrades. Look, a virus outbreak is going to probably be what wipes out most of the population, and that's going to be like the real big disaster. I think that's probably more probable than a comet hitting us or even aliens coming down and wiping out the population.
You've been watching Planet of the Apes again, haven't you?
No, actually, I've been watching the Cosmos show with Dr. Neil Tyson.
Yeah, I'm only up to episode 8. Don't tell me what happens.
Didn't Carl Sagan have that before?
Yes. This is like a reboot of that.
That was great, yeah.
And it's a great show. Awesome show.
This is very, very impressive, this new version.
But they actually talk about that, and I agree 100%. I think that's going to be like the way that, if there is some kind of a global disaster, that'll be one way. But, you do talk about all kinds of different disasters on the book. Let's get right to the aliens. Let's talk about if we do get invaded by hostile aliens, how could one possibly survive such an event?
Well, we got different situations, different circumstances, different methods of belief or lines of belief. Are they hostile? Are they coming here just to destroy us and wipe us out because we're in the middle of their super universal highway? Are they, just curious? Are they...
Gee, that plot line sounds familiar.
Hey, that's original. I made that up.
I'm going to go hitchhiking in the galaxy. Yeah.
Are they peaceful? Are they here to mine our planet? And when we look back in history on our own planet, we see people like the technologically superior Spanish when they came to the New World and conquered the Mayans with very little resistance. And the far more advanced English came to New England and they decimated pretty much the American natives, beyond comprehension. Then we have the Africans and the Hawaiians, the Australian Aborigines. The list goes on and on and on. So
the aliens were going to be food.
Right. I mean,
how to serve humans? Yeah, how to serve man? Yeah.
And we have no chance if they're here to wipe us out. But if we look back at all the animal species on the planet, the humans are actually the only ones that kind of portray those traits. And that go and decimate other beings. We decimate the lion's habitat. We decimate the wolf's habitat. We decimate. We exterminate insects just because they're bothering us. They're flying in our face, so we wipe them out. We concrete over their entire colony.
Yes.
But no other animal, no other living being that we know of out of the trillions and trillions and trillions of different life forms on this planet do that. So for us,
wait a minute. There are other significant predators out there.
Predators, yes, but not that wipe out entire species. No other animal on the planet has extincted, intentionally or unintentionally, other life forms. Even sharks and dinosaurs, Tyrannosaurus Rex, didn't extinct a whole race, a whole genetic life
line.
a whole species, yeah.
Well, here's the thing: the pandas are about to go extinct, and it's like their own fault. I mean, we've put them in cages together, and they just don't want to mate. It's like they're like determined to like go extinct.
Well, with all the Chinese food they're eating, yeah. What do you expect?
Do you think that maybe they're taking the whole Chinese population control thing a little bit too serious in the panda population? And
you know, I think that's exactly what it is. I'm sure that's exactly it.
No, but I hear what you're saying. I think, you know, you're onto something there, Dan. It could be maybe a trait of intelligence that the smarter the species is, the more destructive to its surrounding because it feels dominant and it feels superior to the lower end of the species spectrum, I guess.
I mean, if you think about it, the first species we eradicated was Homo erectus, right before us, as well as Neanderthal man.
That's exactly true.
Yeah.
And I would assume that also. I mean, that's just kind of the way it's pointed. But, you know, are we to assume that even more intelligent life hasn't gotten past that point to just eradicate everything that's past? I mean, that can't be sustainable, you know. Once we get to a certain intelligence level and we eradicate everything on the planet, how are we supposed to sustain ourselves, you know?
Yeah, that's a good question, yeah. At that point, we're going to start eating like silicone and...
Yeah.
It'll be weird, man.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
There's a study done out of MIT that said if we eliminate a whole ant colony, for example, they can do this with bees or worms or flies or anything. But if we eradicate a whole ant colony, and an ant colony usually consists of like several square blocks of neighborhoods.
Yes.
It's almost impossible to wipe one out. But, I mean, we can wipe out different mounds, but a whole colony is like, you'd have to drop a pretty good bomb on it to wipe it out. But if we eradicate a whole ant colony, for example, eventually everything on the planet would die. And because everything is a food chain, everything's reliant. The ants move the seeds, the plant the trees, and the trees stop erosion and feed the birds, and the birds feed this and that, and it goes on forever. Eventually, everything would die. But if you wiped out every single human on the planet, if you eradicate every person on the planet, not only would the planet go on without any problem at all, it wouldn't even hiccup. But it would actually get better. It would start healing itself from the damage that we've caused. So that
reminds me of the Matrix, Dan. The human beings are like a disease.
Oh, absolutely. We're an infestation. We're a virus on this planet. Absolutely.
So here I'm going to pose this question, Dan, to you: if we're such a virus and the planet can't handle us, that poses the question: are we actually truly native to the planet?
That's a great question. I mean, I think that the way I'm looking at it, you look at some of these animals like giraffes and stuff. If you look at their little antlers sticking up and their spots and they look alien themselves. I think each one of these animals are not originally from this planet. I think we've all just been kind of brought here and put in a zoo. I mean, you look at some of these things, how different we are from each other. It's amazing.
So maybe the metaphor is that maybe Noah's Ark was really a spaceship that dropped all of us off?
I wasn't going in that direction, but that's definitely
it's a possibility.
Yeah,
yeah, but here panspermia also would account for the weirdness of the differences of this planet. If a planet's being bombarded over 1 billion years with comets is bringing DNA and all kinds of genetics to the planet, which is going to create life, it's going to look weird because it's coming from all over the cosmos. It's just going to be a zoo of different genomes being spliced together over billions of years. That would definitely create some weirdness on the planet. But there is some study evidence to suggest that we've been bombarded even by stuff from Mars. So it's very possible that maybe a few billion years ago there was life on Mars and something happened that eradicated life there, and whatever explosion took place that took half of the atmosphere ended up somewhere on Earth, and we're kind of the byproduct of that. That's a possibility. I mean, anything is possible.
I read in a study the other day that they were cataloging all the different bacterias, and they kind of put it all into one computive system or file, and they finally counted them all up, and published the results and said that something like 13% or 18% or something of the bacteria known to humans is actually from Earth. Actually originated from Earth. The other 76% is not from this planet. It's not originally from this planet. I mean, they've had bacteria come from. They found bacteria on other planets and asteroids all the time, but I guess they finally kind of computed it all and got the numbers now and said huge percentage is like over 80% is actually non-Earth bearing or Earth originating bacteria, which is
it sure ain't local. In other words,
It's funny, going back to the show Cosmos real quick. I was watching it the other day, and they actually had a report on Mars when you were talking about this, and it reminded me of this episode, where they actually talk about this rock or meteor that was found, I don't know how many hundreds of years ago, and it's still somewhere in a laboratory. And when we went to Mars for the first time with the rover and started digging around and finding microbes, little tiny microbes in the rocks and stuff like that, and when they discovered some of those microbes, they correlated that to the rock that had been around for, I guess, hundreds of years, and the microbes found in that rock actually matched what we found on Mars, indicating that rock came directly from Mars and hit the Earth, which is interesting in itself. We all might be Martians,
or maybe men are from Mars and women are from Venus, and giraffes are from
Uranus. Which explains the
we all knew that was coming, folks. And if you want to call in and comment on him cracking that joke, please call us and comment.
At one point that was going to come. Come on.
I left that one open for you.
I know, it's perfect. I had to take it.
Wait a minute. Did you just say you left Uranus open for him?
Wow.
See, I left that one open for you. See how I did that?
Yeah, that turned the show into a completely different topic.
Which
this is Skywatchers. This is not Ass Watchers Radio, by the way. Just saying.
Which brings us back to 2012, I think, huh?
Yeah. Man, the Mayans screwed the pooch on that one, huh? Nothing happened on 2012. But yet everybody was saying they were going to be blown to smithereens.
Let's look at it. This kind of happened with the millennium, too. Remember when all the computers were supposed to shut down? And
how can I forget? I still have memories of Alex Jones going on air screaming, "Yeah, the computers are breaking down, the rockets are firing, and we're all going to die. We're dying."
Right.
15 years later, nothing happened.
Hold on. You got to admit, there were some significant computer glitches at the time, though.
That's what
there were.
I was about to say that.
Nothing major, though.
I didn't know anything about it. When the millennium had come, I wasn't really into this kind of stuff. I was in the military. I was working on airplanes. I didn't, But my wife, Lucia, she was a computer engineer for AT&T at the time. Mm. And what they did for about a year and a half to 2 years before the millennium was went back into all their computers and reset the number slots from 2 and made it 4, which was what the problem was, is that it was only 2 slots. So as soon as it got to 99, it would start back over at 0, which would really start everything, wipe everything out, and say we have no memory of anything. All your accounts are gone. Everything's deleted because in 00 you had nothing, right?
Right.
So we're going back to 00. You had nothing. There's nothing, and that would have wiped out a lot of computers unless people like her. I mean, there were thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of engineers who had to go through and reprogram all these computers. If people like her didn't do that, we would have had a major problem.
Yep.
Now, this is a little different. 2012 came, went, false alarm, just like the millennium. I don't know. Let's look back. Let's take a year in review and kind of see what happened.
Well, here's the thing about 2012, though. Not to cut you off, Dan, but the calendar itself is so kind of like screwed up, though. I mean, yeah, it says 2012, but we don't even know really if that's the actual current year.
Right. A guy named, I want to say, his name sounds like Michelob, like the beer, Michelob.
Michio Kaku?
Maybe that's who it is. Him and a guy from Greece, I believe.
Does he have great crazy hair?
No, not
okay. Not Toulouse.
Yeah.
It's Mr. Papadopoulos.
No. These two guys worked together, and they kind of took Roman historic events that coincided with Mayan historic events and tried to overlap the Roman calendar with the Mayan calendar and find out an end date to the. And actually, the Mayan calendar wasn't really an end date. It was just, since the Mayan calendar is a circular calendar, it's just the start of the new calendar.
The new cycle, right? Yeah.
Right. And coincidentally enough, each cycle has ended in some, or I should say started in some major catastrophe. Like the first one was that supposedly, and this is by Mayan, historical stories, that the first one ended in fire, I think. The second was flood, first one was fire, the second one was water, the third one was air, which I guess is some kind of meteor impact, or maybe tornadoes or tsunamis.
Yeah, it could be a tornado, tsunami, something like that.
And this one was supposed to be Earth, so maybe an earthquake or volcanoes or something, I'm not sure.
Cool, so we got Earth, Wind, and Fire. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, their music would kill some people, I'm just saying. Continue.
See, now, if you turned around and told me that according to the calendar, when it was fire, the Romans had Pompeii. When it was water, we had Noah's flood. When it was earth, we had Atlantis. If you could show me those timelines, I'd be like, okay, cool, you sold me.
But here's the thing. Noah's flood is a derivative of the Trials of Gilgamesh. I mean, that's where that came from.
Well, not necessarily. So obviously, the question is when does the story of Gilgamesh take place, as opposed to when does the story of Noah take place?
Oh, Gilgamesh was way before Noah. Way before. In fact, in the Trials of Gilgamesh, it was another gentleman who actually had the flood and built the ark and all that stuff. It wasn't Gilgamesh himself, but it was somebody he dealt with. I forget the exact name of the person, but it wasn't Noah at all. And this was much, much, much before the stories of Noah. Noah definitely was a borrowed story from the Gilgamesh trials or whatever. But we're talking about thousands of years ago, probably.
Well, if you could show me the carbon dating to prove that they didn't coincide with each other, I'll take that as an answer.
Well, the problem with that is that the Mayan calendar, each time it cycles, is like hundreds of thousands of years.
Yeah.
So there is no historical record. I mean, if it may possibly Noah's flood if it goes back that far, but Pompeii and stuff, we're talking about the written history, and it just wouldn't be. It's just no way to line it up like that.
Well, yeah, these Mayan records are they're before even Noah's story. So I mean,
yeah. And interesting enough, I've read the Christian King James Bible beginning and end, the Torah in Hebrew beginning and end, the Bhagavad Gita, the Quran, the Viking scrolls, the Tibetan tablets, the Book of Torah, and each one of them have the same stories. They all have a flood with the animals get on the boat. They all have this guy that parted the Red Sea, and they all have, all the stories are exactly the same. It's amazing. So maybe there is some kind of truth to these things. They're just all kind of historic events.
Well, you got to also remember a lot of this historic events, especially floods, are told as mythology. Some could be from an actual flood that took place, but it doesn't have to be like a global flood. There could be an exaggeration also. Maybe
it could be a tsunami,
It could be a hurricane, or it could be just something localized. The thing is, a lot of the old works and the old stories, especially the Bibles and stuff, were written by people that were writing about something that was happening around 5 miles, circling around the radius where they lived in. I mean, there was no knowledge of stuff that was happening, a city away, or 2 miles away, or 1,000,000 miles away. They knew about what was going on right around them. If you look at the stories, that's really what you're getting. Not only that, you're also getting a lot of stuff that is meant to be taken as rules and laws.
And that was the end of the world as they know it. For them, that was the end of their world.
Right. That's all they knew. They had no knowledge about what was going on another continent, for example. You know what I mean? So they wrote about this is the global flood, because they knew about their city. That's all they really had to compare. It's like if something happened globally here, but it's happening in this planet and in a couple other planets in our solar system, we would know about it because it's happening here, but we might not figure out what's happening on other planets, even though they're experiencing the same kind of thing.
Right.
That might be something that we just have no clue on. Same exact scenario.
And that, my book is exactly dedicated to that scenario. Is, it might not necessarily be the end of the world, but it's the end of your world. A tornado comes in and hits your town and wipes out your house. That's the end of your world. Your kid dies, your cousin dies, and you lost your car, your home, your job, or you lost your job, your home in an economic collapse, or that's the end of your world. You might not have died. The world might be fine, but and that's what it is. How to survive any kind of crisis. And that doesn't have to be some kind of meteor impact that wiped out the dinosaurs type of thing.
Okay, so what are the basics that someone's going to need to survive some of your theoretical apocalypses?
Well,
we got to find out which one we're dissecting first.
That's exactly right. Each one, there's some similarities that kind of.
Okay, what are the universal things? Obviously, food, shelter, water.
Have a lot of water and a lot of food and shelter. That's
what I tell people. I do lectures and seminars on this all the time, and I tell people. A lot of people, say, "What's the thing I need?" And the first survivalist is going to tell you water, food, shelter. And everybody knows that. Okay, so I don't need to repeat it. But what I suggest for people to do right now is, one, turn off your air conditioning. Stop. Right now we get in an air-conditioned car, we drive to an air-conditioned work, we get out of air-conditioned work, get in an air-conditioned car, go drive to an air-conditioned restaurant for lunch, drive back to work, go to an air-conditioned grocery store, go back to our air-conditioned house. We don't know how to survive without air conditioning. So, and then when the power goes out, like in the Northeast, we had that blackout, a few years ago, and people were dying from heat exhaustion. That's not natural. People shouldn't be dying from heat exhaustion because
try living in Miami, Florida, in the summer with no AC.
Well, I live in Mexico. In Puerto Vallarta, we don't have AC. It's 105 all year round. It's just you have to get climatized to it, and we don't do that. So turn off the AC. Sleep without a blanket. Sleep without a bed. Sleep on the floor. Walk around without shoes. Because if something happens, globally that would wipe out these things, which is what happened during World War II. Nobody had shoes for 15 years or something after World War II in Europe. We can't walk without shoes. We couldn't do it. Our feet aren't built up that way. Indians walked without shoes all their whole life. So just learn some simple trades. Learn how to weld, learn how to work electricity, learn woodworking, metalworking, concrete, plumbing. We have everybody do this stuff for us. We have our mechanic fix our car. We have somebody mow our lawn. We have somebody butcher our food for us. What happens if there's no more food in the grocery stores? How are you going to... You can't kill something and butcher it and know what cuts to make and what to eat and not to eat, These are basic life-sustaining traits, and they're free to learn. You can go to any community college and learn any of these. MIT is publishing all of their curriculum online for free now. Why aren't people taking advantage of these things?
Well, here's the thing, though, Dan. If let's say there is some kind of a catastrophe that wipes out a large part of the population, something that's really disastrous, and almost on a global scale, what are the chances there's going to be much survival, especially when you think about it? With, let's say, 30% of the population survives, and the rest of the planet is either dead or dying or just in disaster mode. What are the chances there is really going to be that much survival? Because a lot of the food's going to be wiped away, livestock is going to be wiped away, animals are going to be wiped away, and whatever little resources are left, it's only going to last a certain period of time. Even if people take these measures, it's still only going to last for a certain period. So, how is survivability even possible? Like, let's say if a comet does strike the Earth, or if a disease does break out that infects humans and animals, and we lose livestock because we can't eat the animals because they're going to make the people that are not sick. So what if something like that happens? What do we do?
It's funny that you mentioned 30% and wiping out and global, or majority of the global, and that's exactly what happened with the Black Plague, in Europe.
Yep.
And we talked about, the virus, and you were saying that the most likely cause of something would be a virus, and that's exactly what happened. And it was down to, I think it wiped out 2/3 of the population, or 75%, something like that, at the time. And now with international transportation, international airports, and international hubs,
they would just be, it would
come quick. And we have
instantly. Yeah.
We have new viruses like we just talked about. They're going through Europe right now. They're all over the Caribbean. We have stuff popping up all the time. We had swine flu. We had M1H1, bird flu, everything. So yeah, I mean, something like that could happen. The thing about it wiping out animal life and human life is that it would either wipe out one or the other. When it jumps the species chain, when it jumps from animal to human, it's usually done with the animals and starts working on the humans at that point. But there will always be, let's say, we'll throw your number back out there. 70% is wiped out of animals and humans. Great. 70% of humans are wiped out. There's 30% left, 30% humans. We still have the same food to human ratio. You see what I'm saying?
Right, but that's going to last how long? I mean,
it would last the same as it lasts now because the ratio is still the same.
But it eventually is going to dwindle out, and if it's a disaster that we cannot overcome that, like let's say a comet hits the Earth, it takes a very long time for the Earth to heal itself and to be habitable all over the place. If there is pockets where life could still survive, we're not going to have the resources available to really sustain long life, especially if let's say we have a city or a couple of cities left in the United States, and that's it. And the rest of the United States is underwater or destroyed, and most of the planet is destroyed. It could be just a couple of cities in Canada, or it could be a city in Europe, or whatever is left, that little pocket of life. How are they possibly going to survive when the rest of the planet's dying or in dire straits, and their resources, it's going to dwindle out eventually? I mean, there's only so much they could survive.
Stock up.
It's only so much you can stock up, though.
Well, I'm not talking about stock up enough to last your lifetime, but we stock up on seeds, we stock up on animals, and we can reproduce them at that point. On our ranch here, we have goats, we have chickens, and we have hydroponics, we have seeds, we have turkeys, we have ducks, that are all, right now they have their habitat underground. They're an underground kind of
bunker?
Facility? Yeah, but basically. Just their living quarters are underground, and not even for some kind of ash cloud that's going to encompass the planet after an asteroid impact, but just more like for climate control and security purposes from prey and whatnot.
Right,
it's just a better way to build their habitats underground. And if something happens, you shut the doors and there you got a bunker. So if you could stock up in a sustainable way, I'm not talking about stock up 20 years worth of food, but stock up where you can keep reproducing it, then you're good to go for yourself. As far as a couple cities, good luck. The government's doing that, though. They're building underground cities right now.
Yeah,
that
they
are enormous to sustain large populations of the government and the military.
That's what we need.
Yeah, but they're going to pick and choose who goes.
Oh, yeah, there's no civilians. They have the COG plan, the continuity of government. Continuity of government.
Yep.
And but as far as you can look, there's no COC plan, continuity of civilians plan. There's no such thing. It doesn't exist. So they got the government ready to go in case of emergency, but civilians, you're on your own. Good luck.
I'm not thrilled about that one.
I don't think there's any good news that's going to come out of a comet hitting the Earth. I don't think there's going to be much survivability. What do you think of people that are building actual bunkers and stuff underground to try to survive? If there is a comet that hits the Earth, what good is that going to do you, really?
What I'm scared of most is a polar shift, a planetary.
Yeah.
And this has happened before, supposedly.
Yep.
According to Hopi historic stories and some of the Australian Aborigines, they said that the sun used to rise in the north and set in the south, and rise in the west and set in the east. So this and if this happened, if the crust of the Earth, which is basically a solid material that floats on a liquid magma core, or ocean, I should say, if it slides around, we're talking indentations that would collapse and fall, thousands, hundreds of thousands of feet instantly. We're talking about entire cities free falling in a matter of minutes. That's unsurvivable. It doesn't matter if you have a underground bunker. Your bunker is going to be in a free fall also.
But that would primarily happen only around the fault line areas, unless new faults are created.
Right. Well, here's the thing, though. I also saw a report not long ago that they're saying that a pole shift would not happen instantly. It would actually happen gradually over time to the point where we might not even notice that it's happening. And it
is happening right now.
That's
it's happening right now. Right now, this year, the poles are 80 meters west of where they were last year.
And speeding up. It's speeding up. It's going faster and faster each year.
Absolutely.
In 3 years, it'll be up in Russia instead of in Canada.
It's kind of scary, isn't it, to think that that's happening right under our feet?
And all the international airports, like Florida, Miami, Florida, just had to move their runway like 30 feet over because now there's a new north and all the planes aren't lining up right anymore. This stuff is happening. I mean, it's happening right now. Did 2012 come and go and nothing happened? No, stuff happened all the time. I have a rundown I'd like to go over if we have a second of everything that happened, and it's amazing. We watched it. The thing is, we watched it every day on the news as it came and went, and it's no big deal. Things happen all the time. But when you put it into a list, if you document each thing and then look at it, it's very strange. Yeah, it's very kind of weird. Let's go through it. January 1st, the first of the year, 2012. 17 billion aquatic and aerial animals literally fall from the sky and float up from the ocean dead. Okay?
Right.
Experts cite, you remember that? All right? Yep. Experts cite fireworks and extreme cold snaps. Okay? Let's just assume that they're telling the truth. That's exactly what caused it. Let's be naive and let's just assume that's it. The last time that I recall that something literally froze solid in mid-flight and died. That was when back in school, remember talking about the mammoths eating flowers and froze solid during the last ice age.
Yep.
So that should be a red flag right there. And if fireworks are causing billions of animals to die instantly, we're talking about more animals dying than all the nuclear devices that have ever been set off in the history of humans. With fireworks, that's got to be a great fireworks show.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, no, real quick, I'm gonna tell something to the audience who's listening in, especially the Dark Matter Radio audience, who loves Art Bell and loves his books and has read the upcoming Global Superstorm by Art Bell and maybe saw the movie 2012. They actually touch on that flash freezing as a possible thing that really could happen, and that what you're saying right there, the woolly mammoth with the
no, man, you're You're thinking the movie The Day After Tomorrow.
I'm sorry, Day After Tomorrow. Yes,
2012 was the polar shift that we were just talking about, where the crust actually shifted on its axis, and China, or I think it was China, became the same spot as where the United States was, where they only had to fly like 30-minute flight to China because it had moved.
Well, yeah, The Day After Tomorrow, the flash freezing is where I'm trying to get to anyway. Thank you for correcting me there, Alan. But no, that is a possibility that definitely could happen, and that has happened in the past. That's clear at this point, I think.
Let's continue. February, 24 countries rise up and overthrow their governments. Okay? March, 320 tornadoes touched down in a single day, broke all records in history. Also in March, Greece's government defaults on its economy, collapses. Okay? June, simultaneously, major volcanoes erupt in 3 opposite corners of the planet. Let's just go through this. India's grid collapses for 2 days, leaving 8% of the world's population, 600 million people without power. That's 12 times bigger than the one we were talking about earlier, the Northeast blackout 2002, 2003, something like that.
Yep.
I'm going to skip a couple months. Hurricane Sandy, October. The second 100-year storm in 10 years. Remember that they used to call these 100-year storms?
Yep.
So we had 2 100-year storms in 10-year period. That's interesting. Later October, E. coli radiation sickness breaks out across Europe. We talked about this. Colombia, I was in Colombia at the time. We had an unknown epidemic that grounded all flights. We couldn't leave the airport. November, Syria turns off their internet. Can you imagine if all the internet was just shut off?
Don't ever say that again.
Well, it's Syria.
Well, yeah. Now it's Syria, but at the time it was just a normal country. Now we understand it, but this was before the collapse, man. January 2013. Again, billions of aerial aquatic life fall dead from the skies, frozen solid, float up from the ocean. Here we go again, right? Let's skip ahead a little bit. April. Terrorists supposedly, again, bomb the Boston Marathon. 2 bombs go off at the finish line. Connecticut lawmakers pass a firearm registration bill turning hundreds of thousands of people into American citizens, by the way. These are law-abiding citizens. Now they're felons overnight because they don't turn in their firearms, right? April, California experiences the worst drought in 250 years. May, the Edward Snowden documents get surfaced that the CIA is spying on us through World of Warcraft and other social media sites. July, the city of Detroit files bankruptcy. And this is like the 14th city in the United States that filed bankruptcy. You know, let's go ahead. January 2014, this frigid polar vortex, remember that? Paralyzed 3/4 of the country. Temperatures fell 50 degrees in a matter of hours. That's just, it's insane. Vietnam, which is practically on the equator, had freezing temperatures. Venice, which, you know, the canals are famous for the romantic, all their canals were frozen, right? And guess what happened also in January?
What?
Billions of aquatic and aerial animals died. You know,
yeah.
The sky.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just nothing happened in 2012. Everything happened. Everything happened.
A lot of that could be a byproduct of a lot of other things. I mean, look, the political stuff I don't really get into as much, you know, as being part of the whole 2012 phenomenon. But I get what you're saying with the older natural disasters and stuff like that. But how much of that could just be coincidence that it just happened on 2012 and
how much of it is human controlled? You know, with all these prophecies.
A lot of it is human control. Look, the terrorist activity, all that's human controlled.
Right. How much is human control and how much of this is beyond the human control?
I agree 100%. And I was an engineer for Boeing. I'm a scientific-minded person. I'm not a religious, energy fanatic kind of person, okay? But when these religions, like the Muslims and the Jews and the Christians and the Hopi, which are famous for fighting with each other and arguing with each other and not agreeing on anything.
I haven't heard of the Hopi fighting with the Jews.
That's a new one to me, too. Yeah.
All their beliefs are contradicting their other beliefs, and nobody agrees with each other. And that's been the focal point of religions for hundreds of thousands of years.
That's true.
Hell, that's been the focal point of war.
Forever.
Right. Okay. When these religious people, start agreeing with each other, and not just agreeing with each other, when they start agreeing with scientists and governments and prophecies and predictions, when they all kind of group together and start saying these things are going to happen and these things are happening, that's got to kind of be, you know, that's worth something open your eyes to and saying, maybe there is something going on here. Is it coincidence? I think so. I think it is coincidence. But when it didn't happen in 2010, 2009, 2008, 2007, but it did happen in 2011, 2012, 2013, 2014, maybe there is something to it. Maybe. That's all I'm saying. Maybe there's something to it.
Hold on. There's been some crazy stuff in 2013 and 2014.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Look at 9/11. Look at 9/11 also. 9/11, the number for the emergency contact, when 9/11 happened, I mean, you don't think they picked that date in particular because of what the significance was? I mean, a lot of the stuff that is man-done or done by individuals or radical religions like radical Muslims or radical whoever are, doing it with a certain agenda behind it. They're doing it on purpose on specific dates to hit trigger dates. So it's almost like they're trying to make prophecies come to life that wouldn't happen normally.
Self-fulfilled prophecies.
Right, they're trying to fulfill self-fulfilled prophecies. Right. And that's kind of like what 9/11, I think, was, what a lot of these things are. And that's why everybody immediately was like, well, Nostradamus spoke about 9/11. Well, Nostradamus made a very vague prediction of something would happen. Very vague prediction. And then some terrorists could have been like, some terrorists could have been like, let's make this prediction come true. And that's what
I got to disagree with that. What I found interesting is I found a book from the 1960s about Nostradamus' prophecies, and the insert in the cover actually had an airplane hitting the Twin Towers.
He didn't even know what an airplane was.
No, but I'm saying whoever was the artist that drew the...
I don't think it was an airplane. I do remember seeing some of the insert stuff on the prediction. There was like burning buildings or something like that. That I saw, but I didn't remember seeing an airplane hit the...
No, I remember seeing this as the Twin Towers. It was a Nostradamus prophecy book from either the 50s or the 60s. Before the Twin Towers were even built, and or as they were proposed being planned. I don't remember the exact time of when the book was printed, but I found it very, very interesting that it actually showed planes hitting the Twin Towers. And, whoever the artist was, obviously he interpreted what Nostradamus said and translated that to that image.
That's exactly what I'm saying. If nothing else, this stuff is very interesting. I mean, there may be something to all this stuff. It's at least something to kind of keep your eyes open for and watch out for. Regardless, I think we're going to have some very interesting times ahead of us for sure.
Yeah, and going back to this Nostradamus thing, I've never seen that, so I really can't confirm or deny it. If anybody knows out there what Alan is talking about, please call in and let us know. Or drop us an email at info@skywatchersradio.com, and we'll read it on the air next time we're live. I've never seen that, honestly, and I've seen a lot of stuff on 9/11 and Nostradamus, and I've seen one that is like a burning building, but it doesn't even look like two buildings. It looks like one big structure, and there's like fire coming out of it, and that was supposed to be this depiction of what they were trying to say was going to happen on 9/11. But again, going back to the whole thing, it could be, like we said, prophecies that are being done by these people on purpose to kind of fulfill this prophecy that was in a book. And a lot of that could be what happens every time we get an event that matches up to some kind of prophetic history or prophetic book or prophetic reading by a medium or a psychic or somebody like Nostradamus.
Yeah, absolutely, Angel. But a self-fulfilled prophecy is still fulfilled.
Oh, of course, yeah.
It's still, even if, let's say that you had this magical source like Merlin or somebody that could tell the future, or the Mayans, or Mother Shipton, or Nostradamus, okay? And he sees this picture of the Twin Towers burning and jets flying into it, okay? That's all he sees. I'm not saying this is correct and they can do this or not, but let's imagine they can for a minute, okay? That's all he's seeing is that the buildings are burning and planes fell into it, and he's describing what happened. He's not saying that it was self-fulfilled based on my prophecy. He can't see all that,
Well, he's not saying the cause. He's not saying his cause is the effect.
Right. Well, but here's the thing, though. I could write in the book, there's going to be a disaster sometime in the future, and it'll be on some date. And then about 1,000 years could happen, and maybe something very close to what I wrote happens. Does that make me a psychic or a seer? No, it just means I'm an educated guesser.
Right. But some of these prophecyers, are kind of too vague and generic to really, and I kind of didn't put them in the book, but some of them, like Mother Shipton was good.
Some have a track record that's pretty accurate, and others don't.
Right. Edgar Casey was good. Nostradamus, I couldn't find that much, like you said, and I couldn't find too much on him. That was really I could nail down and become concrete. Sumerians. The Sumerians were incredible. I mean, these guys were like geniuses.
Well, it depends. Are you going off of Zechariah Sitchin's interpretation of the Sumerians, or are you going off like reality?
I'm not going off Zechariah Sitchin's. I was going off textbook. And they didn't prophesize that much, but some of the stuff I'm talking about, like they had images, they had drawings of the far side of the moon,
right?
And they couldn't see it at the time because, of course, the moon is locked in a tidal lock with the planet. It always faces one direction. How did they have, paintings of the backside of the moon? Some of the stuff is incredible. And they had roads. They had built roads, but they didn't have cars or carts. And they had toys that looked like spaceships and stuff. For kids. Yeah. So rocket ships and such. So it's The Sumerians were great.
Well, here there's a misconception of that, and it's funny you bring the toys. I think I know what you're talking about. They even showed some of this stuff on Ancient Aliens a while back, where it looks like little rocket ships that look golden. Is that what you're talking about? The little gold rocket ships?
I think those were the either the Mayans or the Aztecs that had those ones down in South America.
Right, the Aztecs.
Yeah, and they did the flight simulation to see if it actually could fly and stuff.
Right, and what those actually were, and this is probably the same thing with the Sumerians, I'm not 100% sure, but it could be, but what they actually were not even flying ships, they were actually a representation of fishes. That's what they were trying to say with those little things that look like flying ships. They were actually depicting a fish.
I heard.
Okay. I'm gonna say no on that one.
I would say do your homework. Hold on, real quick. Before you say no, do your homework, and then next week give me an answer, and I will give you links that'll prove what I'm saying. This is historical fact. I'm not talking about my. Hold on. I'm not talking. Hold on. I'm not talking about my opinion or my theory. Historical fact, and I will show you links. You can go research it yourself and prove it to yourself.
Okay,
it's a historical fact.
According to only one or two professors, probably. My thing is if you can show me an upright fin in any genus or phylum,
when you see some of the stuff that I show you, when I send you when you see the stuff I'll send you later, you're going to be next week. You're going to say, Angel, I'm a fool. You're 100% right.
Show me a fish that has 3 fins in the back.
I will show you later, but we're going to continue now with the rest of the class.
Okay, this is not How to Train Your Dragon. Show me a fish that has that type of a tail.
I will. It's just you have to watch a video, and you can't do it when we're live on air. So we're moving on, and next week we're going to come back, and you're going to say, Angel, I'm a fool. And you were right.
Folks, if you want to call in and comment, obviously Angel doesn't want to discuss this now, so we're going to have this discussion that will be heated next week.
Yes. Because you have to watch the proof first. That's it. That'll prove it. But anyway, moving on.
Matthew.
Moving on.
Jesus. The Bible was actually a great book of predictions too. So a lot of their stuff if you go through the Bible and really, with an open mind, no religious affiliation, and just kind of read the book and make your own kind of interpretations of things. A lot of the things that they talk about in the Bible, like they were talking about men walking underwater and living underwater, and we do that. For the last 50 years, we've had submarines and. And then they describe like the stealth bombers and astronaut, space, their suits and lots of things. But then again, it could all be an interpretation of the reader. I read it with an open mind and I don't have any kind of religious affiliation or anything, and I can just interpret it the way I want. But it's a great book to read, if nothing else. It's a very interesting book.
Oh, as I always say, it's a great work of fiction.
Fiction. It's a great historic book. It's almost all truth.
Well, let's not get into that conversation because there's a lot of lies, innuendos, and just made up stuff in the Bible, and just stuff that makes no sense. Like I don't know, people live in 900 years.
Well,
really?
Yeah. I mean, it could be.
Well, before the last polar shift, we don't know how time was counted because of how the speed of the planet spinning, maybe.
Right.
But they don't talk about the pole shifts when you're talking about like Noah, for example, or Moses, or these people that lived a lot longer.
Well, how do we know
900 years old?
How do we know the flood wasn't caused by a polar shift?
We don't know. The flood wasn't more than a hurricane.
How do we know people didn't live 900 years? We can't prove anything.
If it was just a hurricane, how come there's so many cultures that are so far apart from each other?
Because they've all had hurricanes. They've all had hurricanes. They've all had different kind of tsunamis or different kind of incidents that have caused them to write a story, and they've all written different stories. Look, man, you're talking about a time.
You're right. They all
wrote
different stories that seem near identical. Oh my God!
That could very easily happen. If you have over 1,000 years, a flood here, a flood there, a hurricane over here, a tsunami over here. Guess what the stories are going to come out? Guess what they're going to be like? Well, there was a lot of water and people drowned, and then somebody had a boat and he put a lot of people in the boat and we survived. That's part of the story. It's going to happen in every single culture. We're talking about a shared experience by people, even though they're not in the same location.
So it is a factual story, though.
It could be a factual story told by many different people. It doesn't mean there was one guy named Noah and had an ark. Just
probably
saying.
Was a guy named Noah and had an ark.
It could very well be. But the thing is, we don't know, and
we don't know.
And even before Noah, there were stories of a flood.
Yeah,
that's the problem. That story goes back thousands of years. I mean, it's an old story. Again, the Trials of Gilgamesh. Look him up. I mean, that stuff is in there. And open lines the rest of the way. Again, if you guys want to call in, there's hundreds of people listening right now. Dan, I wish somebody would pick up the phone and would ask a question like, "How can I survive? I weigh 115 pounds and I don't even have my license. I got pimples on my face and I don't have a girlfriend and I'm up late night listening to radio. What can I do?" If you're that guy listening in, call in right now. We'd love to take your call in. Ask that to the guest, Dan Martin. You can do that by calling in at 786-245-8127. Again, you can find us on Skype by looking up at PSN Radio. Which, again, we are live. If you guys want to join the chat room, it's over at psn-radio.com. And that heavy breathing is not the guest. That's actually Alan, who's breathing like Darth Vader again. Stop it, Alan.
Oh, sorry. I'm just practicing for my other job.
What are you, having an orgasm live on radio? That's not cool, man.
Well, I'm looking at these pictures. I'm just looking at those pictures you sent me. That's all.
Oh, those pictures got you all going. And the pictures he's talking about, it's actually thanks to Zod Ryder, who sent over a link showing weird paintings throughout history that depicted disasters and 9/11 type of things with, the towers and whatnot. But here's the thing, even what we brought up earlier with the whole Nostradamus thing, 9/11, that's something that has been in the minds for a long time. In fact, in the 90s, there was an attack on the World Trade Center, so it's not like that far-fetched that people have been thinking about, got to take down the World Trade Center. And again, if you're going to attack a country, you're going to go for the main infrastructure of its economy, and the World Trade Center was the perfect spot to hit if you're going to attack the U.S. That was literally the best target at the time. So it made perfect sense.
Actually housed in the World Trade Center at the time.
Yeah, so it makes perfect sense. You're going right after the heart of the country where the money is driven in and out. So I mean, that is literally the best target. So it doesn't shock me that people wrote 40 years ago or 20 years ago or 15 years ago or even tried in the 90s to attack the Trade Center. I mean, that's just it's like common sense. You know what I mean?
I hear you.
But anyway, now I know that Alan had a question here that we were talking off air a couple minutes ago. You want to ask your question there, Alan?
Well, yeah, a couple of different questions actually. As we're preparing for all sorts of different collapses, what should we use to barter with, or what should we use to store our value, our wealth that we have accumulated? Obviously, besides seeds and livestock.
Mm-hmm. A lot of people say, silver. Silver's good because it's marked, and we can kind of weigh it and see how much it's worth. And
it helps against werewolves in case that ever happens. For real.
That too. And we've used silver for hundreds, thousands of years to use as a monetary. And silver's great. But, it takes up a lot of room. It's real heavy. I prefer diamonds. They're light. They're small. They can use a lot. You can buy a lot more with them. And you can still prove that they're diamonds. There's lots of tests to prove that they're diamonds. I personally stock up on coffee, toilet paper, cigarettes, basically anything that anybody is addicted to right now is going to be worth a lot of money later. And pay you no mind. You are addicted to toilet paper. You are.
You hit it right on the head. That's the one thing. In fact, I would say that is the greatest single invention in mankind's history. The toilet paper.
Absolutely.
Well, you know what's a good substitute for toilet paper, just in case?
Your hand?
No,
Cigarette.
the Yellow Pages.
Oh.
No, the Yellow Pages and phone books.
Yeah, I don't know about that, man.
Toilet paper.
Yeah.
I want to go with toilet. I'm going to stock up on toilet paper.
I'm with you.
Well,
on
I'd
that.
like to stock up on it, but, doesn't mean you're always going to get it.
It's talking about toilet paper. It's amazing how addicted we are to material possessions. If I told you that I'm going to take away your air conditioning, your car, your cell phone, your computer, your
there'll be blood.
Your house, your toilet, you would actually start kind of unintentionally and uncontrollably a little bit panicking inside, And if I actually did it, if I actually took those things away from you, you would experience withdrawal effects of those things, which is the definition of addiction. That's the complete definition. We are addicted to material possessions.
Mm-hmm. You're 100% right. During Hurricane Andrew, and I had a first-hand experience in that. As I lived through the hurricane. As soon as the hurricane hit and everything was just destroyed, we were without power for a couple of weeks. It was weird, man, because you get to the point where you're just dying to watch TV. You're dying to be able to do something, and there's nothing that you can do. Or you can't watch anything. There's no power. There's nothing, and you really start to miss the luxuries that we have, and it really is like an addiction. It's almost like a heroin addict just needing that fix. I need Judge Judy. I need her in my life. I need Geraldo Rivera. Not really, but back then it was kind of what it was on TV. Oprah. Need Oprah. That you kind of get to that point where you really need the things that you're used to, but that's just mental conditioning. It really is, which is funny because you don't have any of that. You don't have a TV.
I did.
You did, but you don't have any more. You
don't
have a cell phone.
I had that addiction just like anybody else.
Yeah.
We left very, very high-paying careers. We sold all of our personal possessions. We cashed in all our stocks, sold all the toys, the jet skis. We had 2 waterfront homes in 2 different countries, all the vehicles, and completely 100% left society. And I experienced withdrawal symptoms. That's how I said. And the things that we actually took with us, I had a Pioneer stereo system, surround sound, Bose speakers, all that kind of stuff. A couple desktop computers that I thought we would need. We actually burned those things. It's one thing to give them away. That's great. That's charitable, noble, awesome. But when you actually burn it, it's burning that bag of heroin, or that bag of marijuana. It's like I'm consciously making a conscious effort to break that dependency from it, and I'm doing it through fire, to visually and sensibly through senses stimulate that break. So I can, and it was hard.
Well, let me ask you a question.
We did fiend for a McDonald's cheeseburger for years.
Let me ask you though, Dan. When you were burning that computer, at any time did you think, "Wait a second, I got to write a book now? How the hell am I going to do that?"
Yeah, no, I didn't even dream about writing a book till years later. But
and then you had to buy another computer, and you were like, "Damn, I wish I wouldn't have burned that last computer. I could have used that one."
Yeah, no.
Shucks.
I haven't owned a phone in 10 years. I don't own a TV, and I don't miss it. I mean, I see people like when the phone rings, and they physically can't stop themselves from picking up the phone and looking to see who it is. Like if I told them, like I'm in a consultation with somebody or something, and their phone rings and they pick it up and look at it, and I says, you know what? Just don't look at it next time. Next time it rings, don't look at it. And they say, oh, yeah, sure. And it rings, and they look at it. I says, hey, I told you not to look at it. Oh, yeah, sure, I forgot. Okay, well, next time, don't look at it. It rings, they look at it. What are you doing? Oh, my God, I can't stop looking at it. It rings, they look at me, I look at them. Do not look at your phone. I have to. What if it's somebody that needs me? What if it's an emergency? Humans have been living hundreds of thousands of years without cell phones and having emergencies. People can be okay if they don't contact you. But our mind can't contemplate those things. We have to look at it.
And it's funny because it's only going to get worse, especially with the way technology is going. We got that instant gratification by having a phone and being available at 24 hours a day for anybody who needs to call us or reach us. And it's going to get only worse and worse as technology gets better and better. Eventually, you won't even need a phone. You'll be implanted with a chip in your brain, and you can just blink your eyes twice, and you'll be taking a phone call. It'll be on Google Glass or something like that right in front of you. Or
and
Google implanted glass.
If you don't believe me, take your phone and turn it off, take the battery out, and put it away in a cold, dark, humid place, and just let it sit for a couple days and experience the withdrawal symptoms that you feel for those 2 days. Just do a little experiment for yourself and see what happens. I said in a cold, dark, damp place because I read a study the other day that said your cell phone is the most deadliest item that you possess because it has more bacteria and germs in it than a public toilet does.
What?
Well, hold on. How many? No, I call bat squatch on that.
Okay.
And the reason I
Test me.
The reason I say that is how many people do you actually hand your phone off to use to catch their bacteria and germs?
It doesn't matter. Your bacteria grows and reproduces and changes into new forms of bacteria. It breeds itself in a nice, dark, humid place, and then it reinfects you. And you got to think about it. Think about this.
It's got a point there, Ellen.
A public toilet, right? It's bright. Supposedly, they clean it a few times a day. It's porcelain. It doesn't have any pores or surfaces that bacteria can get into. And we don't really touch it. We try not to touch it, so it's not.
Well, now when you're sitting down, you kind of have to touch it.
But your cell phone is this thing that you keep in your pocket all the time. You put up to your mouth. And how often do you actually wash your cell phone? And you know what the worst thing is? Money. How often do you wash your money? I've never washed money before. You touch your money, you touch your mouth, you touch your eyes,
Yeah,
that's called laundering your money. That's not cool.
I was going to make that joke, and you beat me to it. Damn you. No, it's funny because they've done tests on like $100 bills, and they've seen like what is actually on $100 bills, and I think it was like one of the tests revealed like 25% cocaine found in $100 bills.
I heard that.
All kinds of germs are found on $100 bills. The cocaine makes sense. I mean, if you're balling and you're doing a lot of cocaine, you're not going to do it on a $1 bill. You're going to do it on a $100 bill. So of course you're going to find it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm going to go all out and I'm going to use some coke. $100 bills, baby. But it's funny. We deal with money like it's nothing, and then we eat something, and it's like it's nonchalant. But yeah, we're passing germs around all the time, which again goes back to my earlier statement that that's the way they would wipe us out, man. It'll be through germs.
Sure. And you're right.
Yeah.
I think you're right on. Let me tell you a little story about what happened to me when we left society. Before I left society, I was working for Boeing. San Antonio. Went to work every day, just like everybody else. Commuted to work. Got sick a couple of times a year. Got the flu, just like everybody else. Nothing big, and pretty average. I leave society. I have zero contact with human beings for a little over 6 years, almost 7 years. Zero contact. Don't see one other human being. Nobody comes on my ranch. I don't leave my ranch one time. I got sick in a 6.5 year period. I got sick 0 times. 0 times in 6 years. There's no bacteria out there. There's no viruses, no germs that I'm touching, right? I come back to society, just, write a book, start doing lectures, seminars, workshops, projects, interviews, and I'm getting sick like every week, major sick, like intensive care kind of sick. They got me on HIV immune system boosters because my metabolism has dropped so low. My immune system and antibodies have dropped so low that I can't fight anything off. You are bombarded by germs and stuff every day, so your antibodies are building up this huge army and defeating these guys every day. Mine weren't getting any kind of resistance, so they just said, you know what? Go on vacation. You guys can dwindle down your numbers. We're going to shut down some military bases here, and we don't need this armed forces anymore. And so it's like a catch-22. It's like You leave society, you'll never get sick again in your life. But if you ever come back in, you're probably going to die. So what do?
That's interesting.
Sounds like you belong to a tribe in the middle of the Amazon.
That's what I got to do.
Yeah. What do you do?
I'm a little bit better now. I'm trying to, when I go on an airplane or I'm in public or I'm doing a book signing or something, I try to wear a.
Are you a germaholic at all? Like, I mean, are you one of these people that has to like wipe down stuff before he touches like canvases or anything like that?
No.
Oh, like Howie Mandel.
Yeah, like him. Yeah.
No,
he's really bad at it too. Oof.
I wear a N95 mask when I'm on an airplane or I'm in line or something, just because my immune system's so low. And I hate getting sick. I hate being, and when I get sick, I get like bronchitis and pneumonia within like 5 days. I mean, they got me in the emergency room within a week. So, when you do that a few times, you're going to wear a mask when you're around people. But on the other hand, I need to experience those germs. I need to get sick so that I can build up my immune system again.
Correct, yeah.
So, it's a catch-22.
Which, again, let's go back to technology real quick. Technology, since it's taking people away from going outside, and like kids, for example, it's taking them away from going outside and playing and getting dirty and doing what kids do when they're kids.
Yeah.
Now all the kids are inside on the internet, for example, just playing on their computer, not experiencing life and experiencing these germs that are really both a good and a negative. It's good because, like you said, it helps you build your immunity. It helps you live longer because your body reacts to any germs that comes along and it knows how to fight it. So, in a sense, we're actually hurting ourselves by getting so technologically advanced and think that we're so superior, when in reality we really are hurting our own species by spending this much time behind a computer or sitting on a couch watching television.
Yeah, and it goes back to what you were saying about, or what we were talking about, what to do to prepare yourself, and what you were saying about viral. When when we were kids, our mother said, "Don't eat dirt. Eat dirt. Eat as much dirt as you can. Lick your $100 bills and door handles. And get as many germs as you can in your system, so you can build up something by the time there's some." Some other virus that's gonna hit you, and your immune system is strong enough to battle it.
It's funny. I used to remember when I was a kid, I used to go out and play every day with my friends. Just go out and wrestle around and run around and get into all kind of trouble and stuff. And seeing my nephews grow up, for example, the last like 10 years, it's like night and day, man. I'm weirded out by the way kids are raised nowadays. It's just we're really losing that whole mentality of letting the kids go out and experience life and just enjoying being a kid. And it's really, really just a bad idea to let your kids just sit there in front of a computer or playing video games all day. It's just horrible. And
it just dumbles down this generation.
It does. Yeah, it really does. It
makes them ignorant of information. It makes them, you think all this technology itself. Actually, Einstein made a prediction one time. He said, let me try to quote exactly what he said. He said, I fear the day that technology will surpass human interaction. The world will have a generation of idiots.
Yeah. Exactly.
Einstein predicted that. I fear the day that technology will surpass human interaction, the world will have a generation of idiots. And that's exactly what's happening.
Well, let's hear about Common Core.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly, right.
Man, Einstein is always being proven right, no matter what the comment or the theory. I mean, man, that man was smart. Can you imagine if Einstein would have been born today, though? Or
Can you imagine
in the last 10, 15 years?
What he would see and what he was doing.
Oh, it's amazing. They did take his brain, and supposedly his brain is used for research and stuff. If there's anybody they should ever clone, that's the guy.
Right. I mean, can you imagine if we had a few more Einsteins walking around right now?
Oh, my goodness. This world would be a whole better of a place.
I'd rather no offense, guys, but I'd rather have a Tesla running around.
I'm with you.
Yeah, no,
That's
Tesla
nice.
would be another one you could definitely clone. And, I just hope that he's as smart as the original Tesla was. Very underrated scientist. Genius, man.
Who was it that bought all his patents? And
wasn't it General Electric? GE?
Or JCB? No. I don't think it was GE. I think it was a investment firm. JCB or
what? JC Penney's? No.
No.
No, I think GE did have something to do with Tesla, though. I know they screwed him over at some point, and
I don't remember.
Stole a lot of money from the man. He died broke, which is amazing considering like he gave us everything. If it wasn't for Tesla, we would not have lights. We would not have, this radio show. We wouldn't have most of the. We wouldn't have electricity the way we have it. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that is because Tesla helped create, and again died almost penniless, which is just an incredibly sad thing.
I want to say J.P. Morgan. I'm like 90% sure it was J.P. Morgan that bought all his stuff and squashed it.
It could be.
Really?
It could have been.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with J.P. Morgan. I think that's who it was.
I'd still say the General Electric did something to him. I remember reading something about GE and Tesla back in the day. But anyway, Dan, we're actually almost out of time. We only have a couple more minutes of left on the show here. I do want to give you a chance to promote your website if you have stuff that you want to promote. I know the book has been out for a couple of years, but again, everybody can find it on Amazon. And what's the website they could go and look up all your work? And do you have another book in the works, by the way?
We have a second edition that's actually coming out in June. Next month it'll be out. I just signed a brand new contract with a brand new publishing company. The new book will be out in June. The books they can get: The Apocalypse: How to Survive a Global Crisis, right now in Amazon or any bookstore, Barnes & Noble, whatnot. I think the lowest price is on the publisher's website, which is apocalypsethebook.com. That's apocalypsethebook.com. But the prices change all the time. I think that's the cheapest price right now. Also, they can go to my site, which is DIYsufficient.com, like do it yourself, DIYsufficient.com, and they try to have it pretty cheap down there too. And I have 40 other guides, tons of guides there for a few dollars each that are how to make hydroponics, how to make hydrogen, ethanol, biodiesel, how to work with papercrete, cob, adobe, how to build a compost toilet, how to build a rocket stove. Anything you can imagine is there, and that has to do with self-sufficiency. So go there, check it out. It's nothing. It's just a couple bucks to support the website. And if you have any questions, find me on Facebook, danmartinauthor.com, or facebook.com. and message me in the website, and I'm always trying to reply to everybody that contacts me and give them help. If you don't buy my book, that's perfectly okay. I have no problem with that. But get somebody's book. Buy some book, take some kind of class, learn something. We don't need another generation of idiots. We don't need to fulfill Einstein's self-fulfilling prophecy.
No kidding. And we're heading in that direction. I mean, do you really think, in your heart of hearts, you think that this is one of the most important things that people really need to do for themselves, prepare for what might be coming down the pipeline?
I think it's just another insurance policy. You have an insurance on your car, your house, your boat. You have life insurance. You probably have insurance on your motorcycle, your dog, your cell phone. It's just another insurance policy to keep you, your family, your wife, your kids safe if anything does happen. That's it. If something happens, those insurance companies aren't going to be around anymore, and you're going to have to rely on yourself, which you should be doing anyway. You shouldn't be relying on the government and H-E-B and Walmart to provide for you and your family. That's not natural. We should be providing for our family ourselves. So I'm not trying to scare anybody. I'm just saying it doesn't hurt to learn something. It doesn't hurt to provide for your family a little bit. Just take a step. That's it.
It's reality. Yeah. And here's a crazy thing, Dan. Every great society eventually comes to an end for whatever reason. It could be a natural disaster. It could be either economics. It could be, some societies were overly sexual, and that caused the downing of their society. I mean, it could be a number of things, but if it is some kind of a disaster, it definitely would help to be ready for it. And we've been around for a few hundred years now in this country, so who knows how much longer we have. So it is to your benefit, you people listening out there, to be ready in case something does happen. So yeah, check out the book. Dan, it's been awesome having you on. When you have the next book come out, please send us a copy, PDF, the hardcover, whatever you can, so we can check it out and have you back on real soon. Hopefully not 2 years from now. We want to have you on again this year.
I've been busy. What can I say? I actually have something coming up in the works. I can't say too much about it right now, but if everything goes as planned, you'll be seeing it. So
awesome.
We'll definitely get back together a lot quicker than 2 years for sure.
Awesome. You have any conventions coming up in the very near future, or anything you want to plug real quick?
No. I'll be doing a book signing in LA, but that will be out. It'll be all over the place when I do it. So, and it's not even formal yet what we're doing. So.
Oh, okay, cool. Well, there you go. Dan, thank you for being on Skywatchers, man.
Thanks.
It was great talking with you.
Just running out of time, but we'll definitely be in contact before the book comes out. Again, it comes out in June, right?
Right. I believe it's coming out next month. This summer for sure it'll be out. So keep your eyes open.
Please keep your eyes open for that, everybody. We're gonna wrap up. We are pretty much out of time here in about a minute, so let's say goodbye to the crowd. Alan, say bye to the audience.
Bye, audience.
See, that's the best I can get for free. If now you got to pay people and to be better than that.
And applause and everything.
Yeah, exactly. Guys, we'll be back next week with more Skywatchers Radio right here on Dark Matter Radio Network and on PSN Radio. For my guest, Dan Martin, for my co-host, Alan Weiler, and for the Chief, Keith Rowland. I want to thank you all for being here tonight, listening in, and keep your eyes to the skies. We'll be back next week live again on both networks, PSN Radio, Dark Matter Radio Network. Until then, good night, everybody. Peace, and stay safe. Stay alive. That's the most important thing. Get the book. Learn how to survive. And we're out.